I was 95% sure it was a woman, but you couldn't really tell, because of the costume. You couldn't tell because of the costume, so I couldn't. But if it had been a bloke, I would have been entitled to hit them. But it's one of the things, just one of the, I feel as if I always say I'm going to get knocked down by an ambulance, that's how I'll die. It's one of the kind of daft things. In television and movies and that, it's always clear cut, Somebody's messing with your woman, and you just go up and you just give it, I will kill you. But, it's like, but if it is a woman, I didn't know what it was in the. See that picture there? I'm holding a picture. If you're listening to these podcasts, first of all, sympathies, apologies, but I'm holding up a picture to the camera there. It's you can see a thing behind the caption above the picture. That's the Atomium. That's the Atomium. That pitch there. That's the Heysel Stadium. That's the King Boad one. It's a 1958 European Cup final there. AC Milan losing after extra time to Real Madrid. It's had quite a few European. Well, we don't want to go into that. We know why the Heysel is now called the King Boad one is because of a European Cup final, but that's it before it was fully roofed or anything like that. And you can see the Atomium in that photograph. Oh, this book is responsible for so much. It's basically just kind of ignited an anorak addiction that was already there when I got this book like 45 years ago. But this picture, that picture of the Atomium behind the Heysel during the European Cup final really captured my imagination, and I thought it was going to be wonderful when I eventually went there. That's the pitch that Union Saint-Gilloise have been playing their home games this season in the Europa League group stage. Union Saint-Gilloise, who we beat the other night and who will be playing the extra round because they're no as good as us. But this is your Fat Eck. Rangers can only make a mess of it tomorrow against Ross County, because this is what happens when things start going really, really well, and we all feel totally relaxed after so much stress and shit. I don't know if you've seen that episode of Band of Brothers, and I can't find it anywhere I'd probably have to pay for it or something like that, but I remember watching this episode of Band of Brothers, and I've not got it in DVD or anything like that, so I can't find it again, so I don't know the exact statistics, but it's set after Germany has surrendered, this particular episode, and it starts off with a stat about how more American servicemen were dying, not the narration that you get at the beginning of these episodes, about how more American servicemen were dying per day or whatever than had been during the war, during the invasion since Normandy, as they're pushing their way through the continent of Europe, the Ardennes offensive and that kind of stuff. It was because of the relief, because so many servicemen have been terrified. Various theatres of war, there have been years of battles, worrying about their life and stuff like that, worrying that they're going to die every day. Seen some terrible things. That's it. The war is actually over, and even though they've still got, a lot of stuff to do, occupying force and what have you, it's basically an admin job now. So they're all getting bevied, they're all getting totally wrecked every single night, and there's like, they're crashing their jeeps and things. That's what the episode's about. Somebody gets killed due to a drunk driving American serviceman, and other American servicemen are wanting to kill the guy, and blah blah blah. But it was actually more dangerous when they've got nothing to do. Nothing life-threatening is required to be done, and suddenly everything it's been that kind of. See, I don't want to cheapen. Obviously, as a Rangers supporter, I'm very pro the everybody who beat the Nazis during the Second World War. I'm very pro Remembering Sunday, etc. I wouldn't want to cheapen that in any way, but that's the sick, in a sick way. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I think about how I feel in scenarios like this. So much that we needed this season, so much we were scared about, has not come to pass. We've actually done a lot better than we as well as I was hoping we would. I was always trying to back the manager, and I hated a lot of the panic that was going on, the way it's been expressed amongst the Rangers support about what was going to happen to us, if it was going to go seriously wrong this season. And we're not going to win the title, so that's always a bad season for Rangers, but I knew it was a rebuild season and blah, blah, blah. But Thursday night, and then I think combined with last Sunday, and even combined with the results today, with Dundee United and Aberdeen getting beat, and it's like the idea that Rangers were going to finish any lower than second has been completely blown out the water at the same time as we've totally overachieved in Europe yet again. And the kicker, the one that could make it fatally relaxing tomorrow, is the fact that we don't have a game to play midweek. We suddenly don't have a game to play midweek. the captain is almost laughing about it. He's almost delirious when he's getting interviewed and that question gets put to him. The manager is on TNT. He's up in the wee kind of podium talking to Alan Hutton and Scotty Arfield and Emma Dodge, and he's talking, no, I hate it. I hate not having anything to do during the week. I'll make sure they're getting trained and trained hard and stuff. We don't know what to do. It's too, and you're going to take your eye off the ball. This is the very time you take your eye off the ball against a team who suddenly can only win away from home, and Jordan White still plays for them. Preview pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet, the Friday night preview pod. It's still up there. It was Alan, and he was hosted by Craig, and they're discussing everything to do with Thursday's great result against Union St Gilloise and what that means for Rangers in European terms once again and beyond. I'm sponsored by Jersnet, and I'm also sponsored by Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12-step programme, and our amazing NHS, our amazing yet disgustingly underfunded NHS. I'm going to talk about addiction and have a wee laugh about addiction and what have you, but it's a very real problem for folk. Alan McGee, Creation Records, when he had to get off whatever he was on, what did he do? He just threw himself back into his earliest addiction, which was the teddy bears. He was going to see Rangers and worrying like hell about Rangers results. I'm obviously like a food addict. Just take one look at me. I'm technically speaking, I think more of a binger than anything else. But I'm not getting enough exercise either. But I'm morbidly obese, and a lot of that's to do with my inability to stop eating. So I'm no stranger to addiction, but I know it's for other people, they're addicted to things that are a lot worse and will kill you a lot quicker. Well, this ultimately will kill me before my time if I don't sort it out. But I'm going to make a wee few jokes tonight about addiction, a very real addiction for me, but don't take me too seriously. My name's Alec Anderson. Love has truly been good to me. Not even one sad day or minute have I had since you've come my way. I hope you know I'd gladly go anywhere you take me. Fucking amazing to have Tav. We'd follow him to the moon in the sky above. Yes, I rhymed Tav with above, and it's fucking amazing to have Tav. We'd follow him to the moon in the sky above. It's a lovely interview there by just the best interview of the night was Nico Raskin, just saying what we all think. And did you see Nico Raskin arguing with Tav? Did you see that? It's constant. It must have been on for about 2 minutes. At least I think it was a substitution and somebody was getting injured as well. The play get kind of held up for a while and just back and forth, and Tav's trying to be no but. And Raskin being young, he's like, no, go ahead. And then the final whistle goes and they're all laughing and joking and fawning about it. And it was just, it's one of the things that I didn't notice. I don't know how you felt when you. It's Ross County preview. It's a come down. It's a chill out. It's the hangover from Thursday night. Let's not pretend that we're going to do any more than 5 minutes about the actual Ross County game, and I will do it, and I will try and annotate where it is on. You can click on the bottom, the wee red line that goes along the bottom of this video on YouTube that tells you if I only split it into two parts, it will be Europe and Ross County tomorrow. So if you just want to know about Ross County tomorrow, you can click straight on that. Will be towards the end of the pod, because I woke up yesterday, Friday morning. I felt hungover. I felt totally hungover. I felt totally. My mouth was all dry, and I hadn't got to sleep until like back of 5 in the morning. Just hyper, utterly hyper, like a kid. And I think Europa League is the worst for that. It's so intense. I want it so much. We all do. It's just a different tournament altogether. European stuff means, and it's at 8 o'clock kickoffs. It's that wee bit kind of quarter of an hour later, and then it just takes so much longer. And then you get a wee lap of honour as well. It extends it. You do a post-match reaction pod and things. And I sometimes being hungover can make you feel a bit cranky, and we've given out something like hatred towards the team, its captain, its manager this season. It dessers the board, even though the board are trying to get out of their way and try to get new guys in. It's like we're trying to hunt them. There's been walkouts, there's been banners all over the stadium demanding change, while change is actually happening, and the manager is trying to explain that the change, which we wanted is the reason why we're not winning, or because that change is happening is the reason why we're not winning all the time, or as much or as comfortably as we want to. Social media avatars with the Rangers supporters, people who I know who are Rangers supporters, not the Celtic supporters taking the mickey. They've got avatars of the captain and the manager with that, the red mark going right through their face, bisected by a diagonal red slash, the slash my gaffer bore. People changing their Twitter handle to, Clement out, or Tavernier must go, or sack the lot of them. Podcasters advocating that we hit the club in the pocket. Rangers podcasters, kind of Rangers fans telling us to don't buy the stuff in the club shop, don't buy the kits and all that. Rangers supporters advising us, imploring us that the only way to support Rangers really, properly, is to not support Rangers. Is to just go against the very definition of what it is to be an actual supporter, to abuse Rangers. It seems to be the way to go for a lot of these guys. That would imply to me that they didn't actually give a fig about Rangers on Thursday night. That was kind of proven, because when Rangers did a lap of honour to like 2/3, 3/4 empty stadium, I got confirmation the fact that a lot of supporters just prefer slagging and berating and being horrible to their own team than actually supporting them or appreciating them or feeling the love. The Union Bears, they give it out both ways. They give it out, they praise the victories. They're always there to do the humba, as the Germans would call it, at the end of the game, receiving the team, and a wee chant back and forth of appreciation or whatever. They'll do the walkouts, as they did during the game against St Johnstone at Ibrox a few weeks ago. They'll get the banners going on that to say what they don't like about what's going on at the club and that, but they are there when the team do well. They are there. I remember the League Cup game against St Johnstone, played at a practically empty Hampden on a Saturday night, live on the telly, really strange one back in, was it August, September time, and the team all just go straight over to the Union Bears, because they're the only kind of crowd, actual physical crowd that you could call a crowd in the stadium that night. So they're entitled to do and say what they want to the Union Bears, because they will appreciate the team when the team do the business. And this is all horrible, cranky, kind of nasty stuff for me. And I watched the game back. I hadn't watched the game back, and I was feeling this yesterday, thinking about standing there doing the standing ovation at the end, when I didn't even really know for sure. I did know, but I couldn't feel it in my heart that we'd finished 8th, because I hadn't. You heard in my post-match reaction pod, if you were charitable enough to watch that. And then I watched the telly. I was watching it back. I watched half of it, the first half back last night, and a few things to do. And again today, I eventually got a chance to watch the second half back, and I watched the lap of honour. And from the pitch, the players are walking around. It's a perfect lap of honour. There's plenty of fans still there. There's hundreds of them still there. And they've got the camera following the players round the actual park, so it's from, you're seeing what they'd see in fan terms. And it's like the Brimlin's packed while they walk past the Brimlin. They applaud the Govan. The Govan's packed and just kind of felt, no, there's obviously spaces. Folk have left to get home early. I was on Thursday night. I was going, I don't care, how many folk need to, get to the boozer. How many folk have got to get up early for their work next day? That's a disgrace, the size of the crowd here. It was me. I'm doing the thing to Rangers supporters that Rangers supporters have been doing to the team and the manager and the board and Dessers and the captain earlier this season. It's a kind of harshness. There's something else going on. It defies reality. It doesn't pay attention to what's actually going on. I'm thinking, what was my problem? Why was I getting so cranky about something that wasn't even happening? By the time the team would get to the Copeland and they're talking, I took a photograph. There's the Rangers, and it's only the Union Bears. It's only that one section that stayed to welcome them, to say hello. Apart from anything else, it was just yesterday that Ibrox was celebrating a semi-final victory, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We're used to big stuff happening, proper big stuff in Europe. So maybe finishing in 8th place and qualifying for the proper last 16 of this tournament, the fact that there was any kind of standing ovation is something we should be grateful for, and proves we're actually one of the most compassionate supports in entire planet football. I thought, what is wrong with me? Why was I missing out so much? I missed out so much in my post-match reaction pod. So many things that I forgot to make. I've always got a snagging list about my previous pod, but it's usually 2 or 3 items. This was just, even I knew how many mistakes I was making. Apart from anything else, I forgot to finish off a great point. I'd done a great setup about in my post-match reaction pods. I'm standing outside Ibrox on Thursday night after the game, totally buzzing. I was doing the thing about Scott Simon. Scott Simon, who was our manager when we first went into Europe, their manager for the first 2 European finals, and how he had lost the FA Cup final as Preston North End manager. I think that might be the last thing. It was 1954, the same year he joined Rangers. He became our manager, took over for Bill Struth. And he had a Jimmy Baxter from Fife playing in that final that they lost 3-2 to West Bromwich Albion. He was an inside forward, wasn't he? The halfback that Slim Jim meant to go and see, and then Slim Jim back, and a Jim Baxter from Fife was playing for him. And when he lost the Cup Winners' Cup final, the first ever Cup Winners' Cup final in 1961, I forgot to tie that up. Tav and Nico Raskin having their ongoing argument on the park and that as well. I forgot to mention that was a big thing, and it wasn't shown on the telly. I don't think I watched it. So I watched the highlights back. Didn't show them arguing. It was a tactical thing. They were both talking about the hand gestures were into it. It was like, no, there you got to cut them out there. No, you got to get in there. And maybe Nico was giving it. I know what Belgian teams are like. I've scored against Benfica for Standard Liège. That's a sneaky wee stat that gets slipped in there. I think I actually knew that at the time when he was coming to play against us for Standard Liège. And that was another thing. I was talking about the strangeness of Belgium. I don't even know, did I make it clear that I was talking about myself and my wife? I was like, when we went to Brussels in 2004, it was really weird. It's kind of difficult to get a drink in the boozers. You had to make it. I might have made it sound like I was following. I was talking about Rangers going to Brussels, because we do go to Belgium quite a lot in Europe. It sounds like a European thing. And you think, who did we play? I watched all our games in 2004. Who did we? And you're looking up your wee red book or whatever and going, but didn't he play anybody for Belgium in the 2004? Thomas Buffel, loyal or something like that. It was a friendly or something going on over there. It was the Thomas Buffel True Blues or something. But no, it was me. I mean, me and the missus, we went to Brussels in 2004, and it was the strangest holiday. And I couldn't make up my mind if it was me and her, the mood we were in at that point in time, or if it was Brussels itself. And there's so many other strange things that have happened. I was talking about the Billy Boys in Penny Arcade. I forgot to mention that they were getting loudy the other night. Penny Arcade's brought. It's come in the last few games. It's absolutely smashing at Tannadice, but singing it the other night as the referee just gave 2 of the worst decisions ever for us. He was giving terrible decisions against us, but he just gave these 2 cracking decisions for us. It should have been a corner. It was 5 minutes given injury time, and it had gone into the 6th and 7th minute. Started to get a bit of sweat on. I was just sweating about winning the game. I just wanted us to win the game. I still wasn't really believing all this talk about us finishing 8th. It looked, I can't even remember. I would have a better view than you got in the telly from where I sit, but I don't know if it did come back off the fella, or if it was proper that put it out for what looked like a corner. They were going mental protesting about it, and then there was the total sandwich. Was it Raskin and Hefty went, and sandwich this fella who went up there, and the foul was given against the fella who was semi-concussed, the USG player who was terrible. And the music play. And a Penny Arcade, and the seat next to me, it wasn't totally full the other night. So again, that gives a reason for why maybe the crowd didn't look as big to me. That should have been giving them a standing ovation at the end of the game. But it wasn't totally full Ibrox all night. It was still a really busy crowd. But the 3 seats next to me, as I'm always telling you, up to the aisle, between me and the aisle, they aren't season ticket seats, so sometimes folk aren't there, sometimes they are there. And the 2 further away ones were occupied, but the one right next to me on my left-hand side was empty. So it meant I could get the old fit, because I'm a bit fat to be. I don't have a lot of mobility in my seat. So but let me just bang the foot, and the music, boom, boom, boom. It was absolutely fantastic. But what about the Billy Boys? What happened? I've said this thing about the Billy Boys is coming out when it's one of those moments where we feel vindicated. There's a suddenly, like we take the lead against Celtic or something like that. It's a kind of an expression of we didn't realise how much was backed up pain-wise since 2012, or we have, but we've been keeping our powder dry, and now there's just a moment of such fantastic. It's usually something with a bit of it's a bit salty, that we've scored against Hibs. To take the lead late on, when Hibs thought we were going to get a point off us or something like that. It's like, and I'm always like, this it's a song of hate, and the way it comes out, it's like hate. These days, it's largely been self-banned by the Rangers support, but it came out after they had their goal disallowed. It came out after USG half an hour, and we scored after 20 minutes, as you know, the first goal of the game, and then they had that the Ivanovic thought he'd equalised. And just the wee wait for the VAR. It was quite early in the game. Things are always tense when you think the other team have got an equaliser against you. But this suddenly, when the referees, verification du but, the VAR in Belgique, and it's like, no, it's okay, it's no goal. It was offside. And the place starts singing the Billy Boys. It was the strangest timing, I thought. It was the strangest thing to react to with the Billy Boys. It was quite a weird one there. I forgot to mention that Tav V Nico, that utterly fantastic intervention he had that right at not the last minute in terms of the last minute of the game, but last ditch tackle. He had that block on Fuseni's shot. He'd rounded Jack Butland and was going to just put it in, and Tav just comes out of nowhere. Tav, who's having to play out of position, sliding tackle, he blocks it. Then we all get back, and I forgot to mention Ivanovic putting it over lobbing it over the bar, where it'd been easier just to rattle the thing generally upwards, and it would have been a certain equaliser for USG as it started the second half, with Rangers only 1-0 up before we scored our second goal. And Tav had also had a great tackle, kind of clearing the ball out for the corner that led to that moment. And I also forgot to mention that Tav, although his assist for the first goal, the cross he puts into the back post area, general back post area for Nico Raskin, I forgot to mention the fact that that's the third game in the trot that he's done that. Tav, the first goal of the game, only scored one goal in each of the last two games in this Europa League schedule. At home to Tottenham and away to Manchester United, two EPL giants, two financial behemoths, and Tav with the long ball, the ball forward from deep. And I was talking about this in the Jersnet podcast on Sunday night about how he's going to develop in his game to make up for his, the manager not want him to go forward as much, and also probably for his advancing years and him slowing a bit. He's developing this ability to split defences, split central defenders from deep. He did it against the United at Tannadice, but Dessers couldn't score. It was just towards the end of the first half. This ball from deep that just completely throws the centre halves of the opposition. But he did it to great effect for Dessers' goal at Old Trafford, to fantastic effect for Iggeman's goal against Spurs at Ibrox, and then he's done it again. It's 3 games, so it's literally win, lose and draw. Tav will put in a ball, an assist for the gods. That will get us a goal in Raskin's head. I was listening to every free podcast I possibly could yesterday. You probably the same. I'm hoping people will be desperate enough to listen to this one as well, because they just want any kind of chat they can get about this, a great moment for Rangers. But Nico Raskin's goal, I'm watching it back the first few times. I don't, not at the time, not watching it live in the ground, but when I saw it the first few times on telly, I'm like, oh, that head, the way he heads it. The way he heads it across, the way his head doesn't move, it doesn't look. It looks like there's going to be a different connection from the actual movement of his head. He's almost kind of shaking his head, and the ball just floats perfectly straight across. When you think about more of a clean connection, he would lean forward into it, and away it would go into that same spot. It reminds. I've seen a goal like that before, and I'm thinking, knowing you, Alec, it'll be some Serie B game for 1999, or it'll be a World Cup playoff match in Khartoum, which is the name of the horse that gets beheaded in Godfather, between, I think it was Morocco and Algeria, World Cup playoff match, after being some shenanigans going on between them. Imagine but you've got to go to Sudan for a bit of peace and quiet. It really is. It's a bad. I thought it'd be something like that, and it's only I was listening to the Heart and Hands free podcast, and the fella, as Alan, the guy's name, was talking about Ali McCoist against Dynamo Kiev. I'm watching the game back on I'm thinking, who is it? While Ali McCoist talks, Ali McCoist is co-commentating on Raskin head on this ball, and he says something about, I know what it's like, by the way, to make a connection. The ball doesn't go exactly where you want it to, but it ends up in the net. It's him against Dynamo Kiev. I was at that game. I was in the Western Closer that night. And I've watched that goal a million times. It's into the same bloody end, into the same side of the same net. I'm like, that same the way he moved his head, but the ball just went a lot cleaner than you would expect. It was Ali. Nico Raskin was doing an Ali at Dynamo Kiev, who we played in their first European match this season. Dynamo Kiev, who ended up third bottom of the 36 team. The 36 team group stage of the Europa League on the preview pod. Never mind the snagging list for my post-match reaction pod. The preview pod I did on Wednesday night, before the game, I just kept going on about how, this kerfuffle. These new 36 team groups that we've got for the 3 European competitions, and we've been playing for September all the way through to February practically, just to get rid of 8 teams. We're only getting rid of 8 teams. That's all it's about, just to get rid of 8 teams. What I told, they're just stringing this out for it's 12 teams. Can he count? I mean, there's 24 teams have gone through. 8 of them, the good-looking teams that say the teams with that smell nice and all that, just kind of classy looking. They're all, the suntans and stuff like they're all going through to the next round. They'll just watch the 16 teams that look a bit grubby, can't really manage it properly. They'll have to play each other and sort out the pickings for us in the heroes round in March. But I was like, there's actually 12 teams. I think I was getting confused with it. No, I was keep going on and on about my obsession with European club finalists and how there's 105 teams have reached the finals of the European club competitions, and I've seen 76 of them in the flesh, and I've only got 29 to go. And I was wanting us to draw some of the ones that I haven't seen before. There's 5 of them in this group stage, and yet Rangers somehow managed to play 8 different teams, and it wasn't not one of them was any of the 5 that I'd yet to see that were in that group. And all this kind of stuff. I worked out later that I've actually there's 8 European trophy winners. There's only 8 European trophy winners that I haven't seen. I like to talk about finalists because it's an achievement for Rangers. It's an achievement in Scotland just to get to the final. So for me, it's any club that's made a European final is phenomenal. Has got something, is worth watching. That you need to say you've seen them. You need to to absorb the greatness of European football. They have done something that is just. That is worth commemorating. That makes them proper. That they maintain the glamorous legacy of Spartak Moscow and Honved playing Wolves at Molineux under the lights and deciding Gabriel Hano to start the European Cup and somebody else to start the Fairs Cup. It's I'm obsessed with this European finalists. I've never actually sat down and counted how many clubs out of that 105 have won a European trophy, because there's teams that have just, Bastia, Corsica and Athletic Bilbao, that have just been to European finals but never actually won them. Never actually won the and turns out there's only 8 clubs that have won a European trophy that I've yet to see. Maybe that's starting to. I'm getting obsessed with that. I could get that done, and maybe I'd be all right to one of them's Dinamo Tbilisi. Mind you, I don't know how I'm going to get to see them. They'd be quite difficult, but maybe that I kept saying it was 8 teams. It's 12 teams that don't make it through from each group, so that's not so bad. What else was I not talking about? Tav's assist, I got that, the last ditch saving tackles that he put in there. I feel as if I'm kind of making amends here for having such a bad attitude towards the Rangers support, for not hanging around for doing a Suter and Ivanovic. Suter's intervention. Big Soapy only comes off the bench with half an hour to go, and Ivanovic gets goal side him, and he gets back in there. I remember the night thing. That's class. That's a class intervention. It's addiction interventions. And he goes, and it was a fantastic tackle. Injury time. Sykes over the bar. That's the big fella Sykes. That was our thing. I kept going about the big centre half. They had a big centre half who was like 7'5", and every time they put the ball into our box, I was worried about him. Just thank God he's got a head like a 10 bob bit. He had a mate as well who's running about the same size. But it turns out Ross Sykes, the guy's for Burnley. He played for Accrington Stanley. It was only when Ali McCoy's mentioned this. Ross Sykes, the guy's. I've been to see Accrington Stanley. I've been to see Burnley, and it was that was quite a revelation to me. He has the shot. Maybe 2 minutes to go, 2 minutes of injury time left, and he's curling it towards the top corner. And Butland, I don't think we could rely on Jack Butland at this moment in time. So luckily he just put it over. What a chance to equalise, and then straight away Dessers goes through, clean through, and he fights his way through to go. The keeper, it's a good save. Dessers kind of put it away, but the excitement, the chance to lose the qualification for the top 8, the chance to win it again straight afterwards, or confirm it. And also the Dessers, I forgot to mention that Dessers was just absolutely sensational. Dessers was just, I talked about how sensational he was for setting up Cerny's goal, but he was just different level the other night. Big Cyril Dessers, I think he might have lost a bit of weight. Good on the Raskin road to improvement upon decent form, turned it into amazing form. he always looks a bit bulky. I thought he was just a bulky guy, and he always wears the shirt hanging outside the shorts. But I think he tucked the shirt in at one point. Was it at Old Trafford? I can't remember. Oh, it was the all blue that made him look a bit slimmer then. But I think he might have lost a tiny bit of weight, and that's maybe adding to his general improvements or winning over the fans. Yeah, it was a phenomenal night. I don't think I really gave enough emphasis to the fact that our manager has done all this with a kind of paltry, falling to bits squad, suspensions aplenty, and what a week it's been since Old Trafford. Remember that they're absolutely gutted after that game at Old Trafford, and yet so proud of them at the same time. So proud of them, and then they go to Tannadice after a bad start, totally bossed it. Get a significant for us to win an away game domestically right now, and we then turn around and do this against Union St Gilles, who are a bloody decent team. They were really great going forwards, but their finishing was awful. They were through on goal a few times, couldn't make the best of it. But we are improving. We have done since 2025 began. We're scoring a lot of goals at home. That's the first time we've failed to score 3 or more goals in a home game. I think that's our 6th home game since the turn of the year. 3 or more home goals in a home game since 2025 began. Happy February, by the way. But I think we're picking up our form, because even when we're winning home games, we've only dropped 2 points at home all season domestically. We've beaten 2 sides at home as well in Europe. It's a fantastic performance, isn't it? Obviously, League Cup wins at home. But a lot of complaints about, for example, the game where we only beat Hibs 1-0 and they missed a penalty, and who else? Hearts. We beat Hearts by a single goal in a Sunday night game that was really dragged out. A lot of really unspectacular stuff that was letting fans who were anti the manager and anti everybody at Rangers have a real go at them. But now the home form's getting pretty spectacular. Touchwood, don't want to say this too quickly at all, but I think that's great for the manager. But also what's lovely is this European form that we seem to have. It's been going for a few years now. Obviously, we got that pasting, a royal continual pasting in the Champions League group stage, but we did need to just get back into the Champions League group stage to feel that was something we'd done. Nobody talks about that now. We've got to get back into the Champions League group. We've got to qualify for the Champions League again. That's been done. We don't want to talk about it for other reasons, but I think it also reaching the final in 2022, that was all floating about the other night. That the belief, the whole thing with me about, I didn't really know if we were in the top 8, even though everybody was telling me, and I needed to see it on my own phone, and I couldn't get a signal. It was parts, not wanting to count your chickens before they're hatched, but it was also just a beautiful feeling of almost kind of relaxed about it. Like, yeah, it's possible. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong domestically. But in Europe, it's like everything that can go right will these days. And it's been going on since Steven Gerrard arrived. But I think that the basis of it was laid by Walter Smith, who had some terrible results in Europe. I need to see Juventus again. Juventus, I've only seen Juventus once, and they were pounding us 4-0 at Ibrox. Billy Thompson's crawling about the deck and all that, while trying to grab folks' feet as Ravanelli, and that's rounding them and walking the ball into the net. It was awful that night, and it kind of ruined the one and only time I've seen La Vecchia Signora in the flesh. I need to go and see Juventus. The Champions League ended up being really brutal for Rangers under Walter Smith, and that's eventually why he left. Well, that certainly added to him leaving after having achieved 9 and not quite making 10. But my God, he learned from it. But he'd taken us to within a goal of the final. And then he took us to the final in Manchester. In his second coming, he took us to the final in Manchester. So we've won the Cup Winners' Cup. And at that point in time, Walter Smith has got the best performances ever out of us in the 2 other competitions that are available in Europe at that point in time. We'd got the semi-finals of the European Cup in 1960, but we took a record tanking from Eintracht Frankfurt before Real Madrid beat them 7-3 at Hampden in the final. But we got to the final in Manchester, and that was only the third time a Scottish team had got to the final of that competition, and then everything that happened financially and what have you. But Steven Gerrard comes in, a guy who had scored while winning as a player what was then the 2 existing European competitions, the UEFA Cup and the Champions League. and he comes in and, I think the Stardust, the European thing for that was, he's famously never won the league as a Liverpool player, but he'd won both the European trophies, and it was like that's what he did. He could target them, and we picked up on that, and it combined with the fact that Rangers had won a European trophy, will always be a European trophy winning team. That makes a difference psychologically to your soul as a club, to the collective. We were Champions League heavy hitters for a few years, so that's in there as well. And what Walter Smith did with this was relatively recent still. And then we've just picked it back up. Gerrard has attacked the Rangers rebuild through Europe into this situation. But like his first thing he did was like the equivalent, I would say, in terms of achievement of winning a European trophy, was to get us through all 4 qualifying rounds. And he did it again the following season. He got us through all 4 qualifying rounds into group stage. We just missed out in the last day. Qualifying from the group stage the following season, all 4 qualifying rounds, we qualify from the group stage. In second place, we just missed out in first place the following season. Wins the group. You know what I mean? It's just wins the group. In fact, I think we won it unbeaten. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and that has continued. Gio comes in, gets us to European final, only the 5th European final in our history. It's absolutely just historic. Just something that changed my life. Having already got it out of my system, but getting to the final in 2008, and I think we're still. That's all. That it's suddenly everything's possible. It's been possible for every Rangers manager, after 72, Walter Smith started making it possible in a way that wasn't noticed or appreciated until he came back for a second time in 2008 and got us to a final. And then Stevie Gerrard's come in after we've been doing the 4th tier of Scottish football, and he's just full of the possibility, the reality of European glory, and he makes it possible for us. Like, the belief is there all the time. It's a kind of miasma of belief when it comes to Europe. And as somebody of my age, a Rangers supporter of my age, it's the most beautiful experience of my entire life supporting Rangers. It is lovely to see us having belief, competence, and a bit of bloody magic, a bit of romance about us in European competition. It's a phenomenal thing. I was talking about us. Union St Gilles was the last time we played them in Europe, was the only time we've ever recovered a 2-goal deficit. To win a European tie, a 2-legged European tie, and that's something I waited my whole. I watched other clubs doing that all over the continent. Celtic did it a few times as well, and it's oh my god, this never counting this team out. And with us, it was just like we had to be really organised from the go, from the word go, or else we weren't going to do anything in Europe. But now we've got that about us as well. We got that out of our system straight after the first. That was the first thing we did after reaching a European final. Again, despite our time in the lower leagues under Gio, it's just gorgeous just now to have this feeling watching Rangers in Europe that we can do not anything. We're not ready to go and win the Champions League, but anything's possible when it comes to Europe just now, and you can't write us off at all. And even if we don't go any further in this competition, it was just glorious the other night. And I was talking about Belgium being weird. I went to Belgium in 2004, went to Brussels on holiday, only time I've been in Belgium. We had a weekend holiday, and we couldn't really. It was about me and my wife. We couldn't really. Must have been a lot going on that year. I mean, actually just needed. We probably needed a beach holiday, even though I can't stand beach holidays because I burn like a mofo. And my usual thing of want to go everywhere in a new city, want to investigate everything and see all the sights. I just didn't have that at all, and she didn't have it either. We're just needing an actual holiday, just sitting doing nothing. So we're sitting doing nothing in Brussels in a hotel room that had no actual windows. It was a window into an atrium. It's just really strange. Sitting in there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just with some peanuts that we'd bought fish, watching the Open. I don't even watch golf, watching that coming from Ayrshire. It was nuts. But I went to, what summed it up as I went to different football stadiums. I went to the Heysel. I think it was already the Koningbud one at that point in time. I went to Anderlecht Stadium. I went to RWD Molenbeek Stadium. They were all shut. It was the summer. It was the middle of the summer. They were all shut. I couldn't get in. I usually always get in somewhere when I'm trying to just at least tour stadiums if there's no football on. I couldn't get in anywhere. And in Belgium again, the whole thing is we got Standard Liège and Royal Antwerp, 2 teams that I need to see, 2 European finalist clubs that I've never seen in the flesh. We draw them in the same, one after the other, in the group stage and then in the round of 32. In the 2020-2021 Europa League, and we beat the 2 of them, and they're sensationally exciting games, home and away. But it's COVID, it's lockdown. I can't get into Ibrox, so to actually get these teams, I could be scoring off my list of European finalists, and because it's Belgians, they've got to be bloody awkward about it. It just doesn't happen. And when I was in Belgium, I went to the Atomium. Went to that big thing that's behind the Heysel that you can see. The old photographs of the Heysel Stadium, all the old European films before they had the roofs on the place. It's famously the '74 European Cup final that went to a replay, the only European Cup / Champions League final to go to a replay when Bayern drew with then slaughtered Atletico Madrid. Gerd Müller, Uli Hoeneß getting 2 each. But it was iconic looking. I'm like, that's how I knew about the Atomium. You learn stuff as a kid through your interest in the Second World War and then football. You learn stuff about geography and politics and architecture, and we went to the Atomium. We need to go to the Atomium because that's right next to the Heysel. So we go in the Atomium tour and we walk in. And there's a lift that takes you to the top of the Atomium. And there's these people, I think I've told you this before, there's these people, obviously I don't know if they're employed or they're freelancing or whatever, it's a concession, but they're taking photographs. Any tourist site, you'll have people trying to make money out of taking photographs of you there. But obviously everybody's got phones these days, and even then it's starting to become a rarer thing in 2004. But they're kind of studenty. And I remember as we walked in, somebody said, you want your photograph taken? And everybody just kind of ignored them straight into the lift. And one of them was like, oh, well, fuck you. And I thought, it's a bit, never mind. And then up till did the Atomium thing. But no, as the lift door went to shut, my wife was the last one coming on. Of course, I just barged to the front and went straight up to it. It's a big lift. One of them dressed as a tiger. There's always got to be something you're dressed up as if you want to be in a photograph with somebody, if you want to make tourists get their photograph taken with you. And I don't know if it's the Atomium Tiger, Tommy the Atomium Tiger, I don't know if there's some sort of internal assonance or whatever is going on there. But this bit ran up and they were really, really thin. But they had a full tiger outfit on. So I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. I couldn't tell if it was a young male or young female. And they ran up and they grabbed my wife, just like put their hand on both of us, not actually grabbing her as such, but right on the cusp, just as she was going through. Do you want your photograph take? Do you want to take a photograph? Do you want to take a photograph with Tiger? It's only €5 or whatever, And I'm kind of like, get your fucking. My wife's just gone. She just was like, she's probably enjoying it. But she's like, whatever. No, a bit embarrassed, and the whole lift's gone. Can we just get on with this? Get up there, But they were trying to force us to get the photograph taken, and I'm like, I'm going to go and punch this, but I don't know if it's a woman, a man, or a woman. And the lift door shut and the tiger disappeared, and my wife come in and she's killing herself. She's like, what the hell was that about? I'm like, that person was actually holding you, but don't worry about it. But I thought that's the kind of thing, I'll get knocked down by an ambulance, that's how I'll die, and I'll end up punching. One time I do something really, what I think is macho, I'll actually be assaulting an 18-year-old female student for just wanting to have their photograph taken and being a bit enthusiastic. Belgium, weird, things are weird, and it was a weird game the other night, and my reaction was weird, and I think a lot of that is because I'm addicted. That's what addicts do. Issam Sharai, this fella that we're supposed to have, we were hearing on Wednesday, it was supposed to be happening, that he was going to be one of the manager's assistant managers, because we lost an assistant manager, obviously, for personal reasons, and this Issam Sharai, who had worked in Belgian and French football, always an assistant manager, 42 years old, comes from a suburb of Antwerp, has been assistant manager at Beerschot, which is the club that our manager, Big Phil, started and ended his playing career with. He was supposed to be joining us, and I was watching the live coverage, the TV coverage, as I say, yesterday and today, and he's there. He was actually on the bench. He'd actually he's employed by us. It was a kind of. It was a rumour. It wasn't being confirmed, and then Then Rangers released a statement saying, he is here." But I feel as if that was just before the game kicked off. But he's actually on the bench. Is it him that Philip Clement is turning to and saying, "You said it something. That was you that did that. That was you that taught us how to do that for the first goal," which is a bit of a worked move from the corner. Even though Cerny's ball to Tav has got a bit of air in it, Tav just compensates for that when he puts the ball right onto wee Raskin's head with a fantastic cross. So is it him? Has he come in straight away and had an effect on the set pieces? If not, because it sounded as if we'd only really hired him because he gave us a great report on Igaman. He did a really good report on Igaman because he knows, because he's Belgian Moroccan. He's born in Belgium, and he's worked in Belgian football, so he knows how to talk to Big Phil, and Niels Koppen and whatever. I thought, that's maybe, it made it sound like he'd done a really good binder he'd sent to be reporting it. He'd got one of the long plastic things that you shove the sheets of plastic into, the kind of blue rib thing, but it's got to be slot right down the length of it. It's A4 size, A4 length, and you shove the bits of paper in there that you've printed off. Or maybe he'd got the kind of translucent page cover thing at the front and another one at the back, and then inside he'd got lots of letters set, and he was writing down Halves, Egg, and I was scribbling it on, and he's getting the ruler out to make sure it's all going straight, and he's like, I better not use make sure I've got enough A's, because there's a lot of A's in Halves, Egg, man, and I've just got, and then he's written it out in his best handwriting inside. He's really good at shooting, and he does too many nutmegs, but we can train that out of him. It's like it was kind of as if Neil's Coppin had got this report and went, hey, by the way, that's well presented, and just got your report then, mate. You busy? You fancy a job? Fancy a wee job? But no, it looks as if he's actually really, really good at making us do better at football. So good start for him. When I got up on Thursday, up on Friday, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep on Friday night, and I felt hungover. I hadn't actually had any alcohol. There was no substances of that in my system. I've made a drink since last Saturday night. I think a few whiskies last night. And they say that if you can count, if you know when you had last had a drink, then you probably do have addiction problems. But I had nothing to drink on Thursday night. After the game, I would know. But really, was I not high? Can I actually say I wasn't high? I think maybe. Addiction's a terrible thing. It's fantastic and it can be really good in movies, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or With Neil and I. I know it's more kind of about partying students With Neil and I, but Vivian McKerrow, the character that With Neil was based on, became an alcoholic, drank himself to death. Yeah, right, okay, we all know that. The Lost Weekend, Ray Milland and that big Oscar winner back in the day, that's a cracking film about alcoholism. That's really good. What was that film with Rutger Hauer, the legend of the holy drinker, he's always drinking the wine, he's getting the money right. I've got to go into, I'm going to use the stove for a quick bit. That really hits home. That one also just Train Spotting, obviously, when it comes to the hardcore drugs. These are all great films and what have you, but it's do you want domestic football? Is it really all about domestic? I mean, Eddie Merckx, we're talking about Belgium. Eddie Merckx, the Belgian sporting icon, still on the go. Eddie Merckx probably still cycling. He's Tour of Flanders. Does he want to be a domestique? Does anybody want to be a domestique? No, you want to be king of the mountains, don't you? You want to be the speed king. You want to be the points king. You want the green jersey. You want the polka dot jersey. You want the yellow jersey. You want to be Eddie Merckx. You want to do the actual business. Well, we're sitting up at Tapia Hill in Brussels, up at Tapia Hill. And I don't know, maybe one of the kind of summertime colds or something like that just makes you tired, but you don't really know that you've got the colds. You just don't really want to do anything. And I'm always talking about Bar Brel. I love Bar Brel. I love Bar Brel in the West End. I know I hate the middle class stuff, but that's because I'm secretly scared that I'm going, because Bar Brel is my favourite bar in the whole world. Just so many great things happened there. Such a great wee boozer. It's in Ashton Lane, as you know, and pictures of Jack Brel, the king of the chanson. He's all over it. That's where they get the name. And I'm in Brussels. This time I'm actually in Brussels. I'm having Duvals and Heverleys or all that stuff just for real. About them Friday, it was about tea time. And we're up this hill and there's war memorials and all that. Even the war in Belgium, the cockpit of Europe, the wars are getting fought there as opposed to do you know anything about the Belgian army? So I'm sitting up the top of this hill and looking over it, and Brussels looks great. It's foreign and all that. I went to the Horta house, the Art Nouveau stuff and all that. We did all that, but it's just sitting there. We're actually sitting on a bench outside the Jack Brel Museum, which is still open for another couple of hours. And we're like, no, I'd rather just say to folk on the internet how I love Bar Brel in Glasgow, but I'm not actually know anything about Jack Brel. I'm sitting here right next to the museum that will tell me everything I need to know about him. I'm no interested in that. I can't be asked. I just went and got a scone or something. It's just a really strange place. It's glass cases. It's 2 glass cases. I am addicted. It's 2 glass cases. It's the goofiness. It's the goofy look I get in my face. They get the football casuals thing. Have I told you this? I don't know, the real football factories, and it's like, oh, we're meeting up. It's just a bunch of grown men, honest scrappers. There's accountants there. There's lawyers. And we're respectable. We're really respectable, and it's no quarter ass nor given. But the busies can't find us because we've been on the phone to each other arranging this meet, and just giving it absolutely everything. And anybody goes down, At worst, they're just getting left. At best, they're getting picked up and get by either side. We're not going to hit MD who's on it. Really, that's not the football violence. I've kind of seen all that, and you think it just actually sounds, it's kind of gay, isn't it? I don't mean in that kind of homophobic way where people say "in bad is gay." I mean actually gay. It's a bunch of men. Wearing your best clobber. You're looking really smart and all that, checking your hair before you leave, and you all want to meet somewhere away from the place. It sounds like cottaging. It sounds like old school cottaging, but um, when it was illegal and stuff. They try to meet like side streets, back alleys. The police can't find you, so you can have some really intense physical contact with other men who you want to. We properly fucked them. It's just it's a strange thing how that's supposed to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm totally intimidated, as I say, by people who can fight really well and stuff like that. And I also get, in the heat of the moment, something you want to beat the opposition on the field and off it sometimes as well. I get how all this all happens. I live in the real world, as people have been telling us all season when it comes to telling us that we should sack the manager who's got us straight into the proper last 16 two seasons at Trot. But when it's me, my document, what do you do outside the actual game itself? I like watching your team, hoping they win, and what's the illicit stuff that it's standing, and there's a photograph of me. There's a photograph of me in the Curva Pisani before Atalanta got the stadium done up and all that, and I'm sitting there. It's 1999, and I'm at a Serie B match. But Atalanta, before they'd won their second major trophy, the Serie B, a bit of a yo-yo club. They're playing Hellas in this top of the table clash, a great game. And just before the game, I'm sitting, and it's one of the ultras who's going out to my sister-in-law who's teaching English in Italy. He takes a photograph of me and the woman who's going to become my wife, and we're sitting there. I've got the old school Rangers top on, and I've not got a pick on me. Well, probably did have a pick on me, but I'm 28, 29, still even got a wee tiny bit of hair. It's great weather, but it's no summertime, so I'm not dying. And the thing is, I'm buzzing. I'm leaving far. I'm sitting in my actual element. But when I'm in my element that way, I've got this look in my face. That's totally goofy. Oh yeah, it's Cedric. Kind of my specs. I had specs at times suddenly become those little kind of Le Corbusier specs. I'm into statistics about European finals and things. And it ends up I just look totally goofy as anything, and it's goofy next to glass cases. There's two glass cases. Miles apart, years apart. There's a glass case. Kelvin Grove Art Gallery. I was in Kelvin Grove Art Gallery in 1983, the day Aberdeen won the European Cup Winners' Cup. I went there as a kid. The day I just realised I went to Kelvin Grove Art Gallery. It must have been maybe second year of secondary school. It was 1983. First or second year, and we did a wee trip to Kelvin Grove Art Gallery, and sat and I drew a art gallery and museum, of course. And I drew a big a coat of armor, a suit of armour, a suit of medieval armour. I sketched it, for hours on end. I loved it. Great fun that day. And that night I went home and I sat with my dad, my wee sister, in the living room, and we watched Aberdeen becoming the last Scottish team to win a European trophy. That's quite amazing, because a few years later, like 2007, I very much wasn't still at school, and I just finished the kind of remedial woodwork course that had got me staying in Glasgow in the first place, and my wife then is taking the photo. I'm saying, do you take a photograph of me next to this UEFA Cup? The UEFA Cup's in the cabinet. It's in this glass cabinet in the middle of the floor, and the ground floor. And Kelvin Grove Art Gallery, because when UEFA stage in a European final in a city, they show the trophy somewhere. That's all part of the money-making machine, and I'm a mug for. I want to see the UEFA Cup up close, because I've been to the European. I've been to the last ever match in the Cup Winners' Cup. Was the first Cup Winners' Cup match I went to. Was the last one, which was the final in 1999, and then 2002 Hampden Zidane. We're all at that one, aren't we? For the Champions League final, get a ticket if I tout for that one. So this is me completing the set, as was the three European club finals. Sevilla are playing Espanyol at Hampden in the 2007 UEFA Cup final, and I'm going to be going to that as well. And it's just like, and I go and see the trophy, and it's a replica. Is it a replica? I'm thinking that looks like a replica, because I know they do the replicas, the 3/4 size replica you give to the clubs when they win it, and there's also the whole thing. I don't really know the ins and outs, but I think Sevilla are the only ones that qualify for you would get a full size replica, or you'd get to keep the original trophy or whatever. It's the UEFA Cup, even though it's changed to Europa League now. The name of the tournament, the format's completely changed, and it's changed again this season, and we've really enjoyed it. It's still the same trophy, and they actually still call the trophy the UEFA Cup. The trophy is still the UEFA Cup, the trophy that we competed for in 2008 in the final, that I saw our players walking past at the end, that I saw us walking past down the tunnel, that I saw us in at St Petersburg, lifting up, we applauded in at St Petersburg, around the pitch, carrying it, and that's the same. The trophy's the same, and that was when it was in the glass case, and I'm standing next to this glass case, and my wife's taking my photograph, and it's like, it's all wee ends. I'm waiting for a space in the crowd. It's like tea time because we're back for work and stuff like that. And I get a photograph, and I'm like, oh, that's stupid. I'm morbidly obese by this point in time, but I've still got this stupid, gonky, geeky look in my face. Oh, God, it's a European trophy. I'm getting really close to a European trophy. I've seen all the finals. I'll soon be able to see I've been to all the finals. What I didn't realise was it was a handover. I didn't realise that. Well, it wasn't, but in my mind it became that because my party trick, and by God, does it set the women alight. It sends the women crazy with desire. Is I could recite all the winners of all the European club trophies every season. Who won what European club trophy and who was the runners-up. I just know them all off. It's a pretty long, boring party trick. It'll take me about half an hour to get through them now because as I get older, of course, there's more finals. As I get slower, there's more finals to recite, but I still have that kind of love of it, that obsession with it that lets me do that. And now that was like an incantation. Was that like my rosary? Is that some sort of incantation that I know? And the reason I'm saying it, and I went to all three European finals, and I went to the one in Hampden, Seville against Sevilla against Espanyol, with a guy who'd been in Sevilla, the city of Sevilla. Jason, my mate, Celtic Daft, he'd been there for Celtic playing the UEFA Cup final in 2003. And it was like, he was supporting Seville, I'm supporting Espanyol. You know, in about Rangers and Celtic and the politics of Spanish football, so you know why. The two of us are laughing at ourselves being cliches. We're both dishing out badges to the visiting supporters of both teams. He's giving out the Celtic badges. It's like we're trying to recruit. I'm giving out the Rangers badges and stuff like that. Jason, it was absolutely brilliant that day. He got a parking space. He knew somebody in the house right next to in Aikenhead Road, and got us a parking spot. So and he had cans. He was driving, but he had cans in the motor. So I was drinking. It was like a chauffeur-driven thing. It was brilliant. And we're standing there, and it just seemed like a hell of a coincidence in my European final addled mind that the following season, the very next opportunity, the very next season, I'm at my second straight UEFA Cup final. Suddenly, the thing I waited for 36 years happened. I'm watching Rangers. I'm at Manchester. I'm in the stadium as Rangers come out onto the pitch in a European final. The thing that I thought I needed more than anything else. The thing that I thought I'd be completely satisfied with, even though we lost the final itself. I just needed to see us in a European final. I was 2, coming on 3. We won the Cup Winners' Cup. I couldn't remember. I spent my whole life waiting for this, and it was like, suddenly I've done all this. I've been to all 3 of the European finals. It's like I've done the pilgrimage. I've been to Canterbury Cathedral. I've been to the Glastonbury Tor, I've been to Lourdes, whatever. I've done the 3 holy sites, and I'm doing the incantations every day. I've been rewarded. My Lord, the European final has rewarded me by letting me see my team in a European final, and it's the European. But the thing, I just thought, I remember saying, I wish I'd seen the Fairs Cup. In fact, Barcelona hold the Fairs Cup, don't they? In fact, I was in Barcelona on holiday with my wife 4 years ago. And we just did a wee tour of didn't see a game. That's another story. That's another horror story. We were supposed to see Real Madrid at Espanyol, but they moved the game to the day. But anyway, didn't get to see that. But went to tour the new camp, and it was a glass case. Again, it's the glass case. And I'm just suddenly, that's like, well, Barcelona did the playoff thing to decide who kept the Fairs Cup begat the UEFA Cup, which became the Europa League, and UEFA still deny that the Fairs Cup is getting anything to do with them, but it really has. It is the UEFA Cup. It started the UEFA Cup, the old Fairs Cup, and there was only 13 editions were actually played, and 55 to 58 season. The first one took 3 seasons. Barcelona, the city of Barcelona team, but it was actually Barcelona. They beat the London 11 Select in the final, and then the second one took 2 seasons to complete in Barcelona. Suddenly it was Barcelona football team. The football club, they beat Birmingham City, so it was Spain against England 2 years, Catalonia against England 2 years in the trot. They beat Birmingham City in the second final. It took 2 seasons to get that edition played, and I think it's just over a year for the next edition, which was Roma beating Birmingham City in the final in 61. In 62, Valencia beats Barcelona in the final. 63, Valencia beat Dinamo Zagreb in the final. 64, 64, it was Valencia getting beat in the final of Real Zaragoza. So that was, two Spanish clubs that won the thing twice in a row, and then when they got to the third final, they lost. But they lost to another Spanish. It's quite a wee pattern building up there in the old Fairs Cup. And in 65, they had 64 was the one-half final. They just did one game for the final then, but it'd been two legs before that. In 65, it was Ferencváros beating Juventus in a one-off final, but it was in the Stadio Comunale, it was now Torino's ground, but it used to be shared with Juventus. 66, Barcelona beat Real Zaragoza. So you had this little, kind of thing going on where Valencia, Barcelona, and Real Zaragoza had all played each other in the Fairs Cup final. And in 64, when Valencia played Zaragoza in the final was staged one-off neutral venue, the new camp. Barcelona. It's mental. It's completely symmetrical in three different ways. At 67, you had Leeds United losing to Dinamo Zagreb in the final. Dinamo Zagreb having been the first Eastern European team to get to a final when they lost to Valencia a few years before. We're now the first Eastern European team. Also the second after Ferencváros had pipped them to it. So the first European team to get to two European, but they get in there and they won the second Eastern European team to win a Fairs Cup. And then Ferencváros come back and they got to the final. They lost a final. They did it the other way around, but they lost to Leeds the following season. The 68 final, 69, Newcastle United beat Wispestoza, Hungarian side. We're getting so many European teams now, it's getting confusing. And in 70, Arsenal beat Anderlecht in the final. In 71, the last Fairs Cup final, Leeds beat Juventus in away goals. So one of the legs was refereed by Lawrence Van Ravens, who was the guy that had let Rangers play penalties, lose a penalty shootout to Sporting in the second round of the Cup Winners' Cup, and we won it in 71, 72. That famous story. Away goals rule we were already through, but that was they rewarded him, they punished him by giving him a European final. So that was Leeds had won the last ever Fairs Cup, their second Fairs Cup. Barcelona, strictly speaking, had won it 3 times, and they're like, oh, what are we going to do with the trophy? Because it's an old kind of, it's like a kind of a fluted thing with wings. It's a wee kind of modernist thing. It was like a cocktail shaker that you would get in a wee kind of private bar, corner, wooden bar, in a gangster's house on top of shag pile carpet. In the Sweeney, a scene for the Sweeney, he'd have the donkey sitting in the sombrero and a few, it's like a UEFA, it could have been a lighter as well. It was really that kind of modernist thing. It's a smart wee trophy, fairly basic. So who's going to keep this trophy then? And they decided it was going to be between Valencia had won it twice as well, a bit unfair, but they decided it was going to be between Leeds, the holders, and Barcelona, who'd won it 3 times, to see who's going to keep the trophy, because this UEFA Cup trophy that we're still playing for, the competition we're in this season, we're still playing for it, going for our third final to play for that trophy. This is this was going to be the new trophy that was designed by Gazzaniga, the guy who also designed the FIFA World Cup, the current FIFA World Cup, which I thought Germany should be keeping because they won it. I know they won it in 54, but that was a Jules Rimet. They won it in 74 and 1990, and then they won it in 2014. I thought, Brazil got to keep the Jules Rimet for winning that 3 times. Why are Germany not getting to keep the FIFA World Cup, the current one? But anyway, same guy designed the UEFA Cup. So who's going to keep the Fairs Cup trophy? They had a playoff, and the playoff was in the Nou Camp, but unfair. Leeds having to go to Barcelona, maybe because they'd won it 3 times, they were getting home advantage. One-off game there, and Leeds get beat 2-1, so Barcelona get to keep and Leeds, that's playoff in the Nou Camp. That's 2-1 to Leeds against VfB Stuttgart on a Friday night to decide who was going to be playing Rangers in the playoff round, effectively, of the first ever official champions. And remember that, queuing up at Edmiston House, what is now Edmiston House, the ticket office as it was then, the Saturday morning after that game, live on ITV. And if I absolutely, about 5,000 Leeds fans and 5,000 Stuttgart fans lost in the Nou Camp watching this playoff because the cokehead Christoph Daum had fielded an ineligible player when Stuttgart beat Leeds over the 2 legs. Trying to qualify for the first ever Champions League, official Champions League group stages, and it was Rangers that were getting next round. I remember the ticket says it's either Rangers versus opposition or Rangers versus Leeds/Stuttgart. I've got it near me somewhere, it's framed, but that was the next day. We're all queuing. It was great. It's a lovely crispy sunny morning. We're all nice kind of autumnal morning. We're all queuing up to get these tickets because it's the days before. It's like 32 years ago, the days before you could actually have a printer and a computer that we could just print off anything on the ticket. You would get the tickets had to be pre-printed, so they didn't know who we were going to be playing at that point in time because and that was in the Nou Camp. So Leeds have had 2 playoffs in the Nou Camp, and they lost this one anyway. And I'm like, well, I did a tour of the Nou Camp, and I'm saying to my auntie, who's part of the reason that I'm so mad about Rangers. She took to or she was with me anyway. Her and my uncle, my first European game that I went to, and Rangers daft, and she'd done the tour as well. And she said to me, I don't know what other item, what other exhibit it was in the Nou Camp Museum, the Barcelona Museum, that she says to me, well, did you see such and such? I'm like, aye. I'd say it was the boot, the framed the boot. They've got a glass case. The boot with which Ronald Koeman kicked the ball, the free kick that won them the 1992 European Cup final, the first time Barcelona became champions of Europe. That amazing free kick in extra time at Wembley, old Wembley against Sampdoria. I was like, aye, I saw that. She goes, it's in the same glass case, or it's in the glass case right next to it. So I was like, oh, goofy. This time I wasn't like goofy with glee. I was just being totally goofy. I'd totally missed the thing. I'd been standing right next to it, but I never laid my eyes on it. And the thing is, I saw when so I'd lost the chance to complete the kind of set. I'd been in the since then. I've been in the Bernabeu tour, done the tour of the Real Madrid's museum, and seen the old shaped European Cup. That's the only other European trophy there's been. But I've seen other ones being paraded around the park, the actual final itself. And the funny thing is, when Sevilla were parading it around the Hamden in 2007, they went right past the North Enclosure, as it used to be the North. It used to be North Enclosure, and now the North Stand, and me and Jason are standing there, and it's like you can almost touch it. The goalkeeper who's just been saved a few penalties in the shootout, he's hot. I can almost pull up. Yeah, it is. It's so shit, but it was only when Rangers were playing for it, when Rangers walked past it onto the pitch at the City of Manchester Stadium, and it was miles away from me. It's right on but it felt closer than ever. It was when I watched us walking past it. I'm very much cry when you win. I just go kind of cold when we get beat. You suck it up when you get beat. But because I was so proud of Rangers that night, because it was an achievement, that's the only time I've seen Rangers walking past a trophy that we're not about to lift. That I really, they usually have a close up of some tourist in the crowd who's at their second game, at the end of a cup final, and you're like, fucking grow up, I hate watching Rangers supporters doing that kind of stuff, and I was like, don't embarrass yourself, just get on, we'll be back, suck it up. But that, I didn't, get all animated and photographer hungry about it. It was just a wee silent tear, and the throat dried up, and it eventually cracked, and I was just watching Rangers walking past a trophy that we had just competed for and just lost in the final. That got to me, that one, because I told my mate, for years, one of my more boring even than this part you're hearing just now, no, it was about how I wanted to see Rangers. My dream was to see us lifting a European trophy. The only thing that bothered me, was this current vogue for all the European, finals that, they would go into the middle of the park. They erected these temporary podiums in the middle of the pitch for them to lift these trophies. I thought, no, I want to see up in the stand. Go up to the stand. Hopefully there's an actual permanent podium there or whatever. But go up there into the stand. I want to see it lifted old school, the way all the proper players did it through the years. And Michel Platini then became top man at UEFA, and the first thing he did, one of his kind of electioneering, crowd pleasing things, was to change that. From now on, there'll be no more of this getting the trophy in the middle of the pitch after a European final. It'll be up in the stand. And the first time that new ruling came in was for the night we didn't win the UEFA Cup, so I'm in one stand at main road to the City Manchester, looking across at Rangers walking past, and I was in fucking tears. So yeah, that was, but it's tears of pride. It was tears of joy, and that's how I mainline. I felt through Rangers being so close to it. That's when I started kind of mainlining, just injecting it, getting it literally into my veins. That UEFA Cup, that trophy that we still play. I see, it's addiction is a really boring thing when you hear me talk. It's the reality. It's done well in fiction and what have you, when you can apply the tropes and all the rules of story arcs and what have you, all the conventions of writing good fiction. But it's the reality for most folk who live with an addict, be it alcohol, drugs, whatever. It's just boring to watch. It's boring to be in the. You ever turned up to a stag do late? I have, because I was watching Rangers fucking playing Borussia Mönchengladbach in a pre-season friendly at Ibrox. So I've got to go and see them and. They won the UEFA Cup in 1979, 1975, and I'd seen them before. I'd seen them in the UEFA Cup at Ibrox, but I just had to go and see them. Anyway, I turned up 2 hours late, and everybody's in the pattern was absolutely garbage. Within 5 minutes, I'd caught up, but it's absolutely terrible. Addicts are really, really boring, and it's really, and that's how I do all these things where it's reciting all the names of European trophy winners, not because I need to see it. I need to see us doing it. I used to think it was just getting to a final. It was just to see Rangers getting to a European final. But no, I now want to see us win it. I need to see us win it. I need to. Maybe it still is. Maybe I just needed to see us in a European final. Maybe I still do, but I want more. And addicts are never happy. Addicts are never. They always want more, and they're never. It never puts them in a good mood. Now, when I have alcohol, when I have booze, I'm a happy drunk. It makes me happy, unless there's some underlying issue. Whereas an alcoholic, for example, will just change. Their personality will completely change, and they become a nasty person. But I imagine Rangers were the first Scottish club to win two European trophies. To win two European trophies, to win two different European trophies, two different European competitions. It still wouldn't be as good as Celtic having won the big one, but it would be bloody close. It would be getting there. It would be, and I would just really love to see that happening. And I think that was kind of messing with my chi the next day. We get too close to it. The feeling that we had on Thursday night was just one of complete joy, complete relaxation almost in the situation. It was a daft game. I think it might have been down to there's a kind of symbiosis going on for me personally. I was telling you about how I finally made a rick of the ticket thing, the QR code thing. I hadn't downloaded my ticket, so I turned up. I worked out exactly watching the game back in telly. I turned up. I saw the pitch at like 8 minutes 4 seconds into the game because as I was coming up the vomitory. I'd come in the main. I finally get through the turnstile, up the stairs, of 2 flights of stairs, and then up the wee stairs that take you to the actual vomitory. And I could hear as I was going up the stairs, the crowd going, "Oh, oh," that kind of drawing a breath like something's going to happen. And then just as I go up there, I go, it was so something that a near miss. And I watched there's I think it ends up with two USG players on the deck, so that there's a break in play, there's a foul, and that let me rush. Excuse me, let me past without me getting in anybody's way while the game was actually going on. They weren't going to miss any action just because I'd been late, and I was just taking a power of abuse from my friends for being so late. But that's the moment I actually got in, and so I missed Iggaman's beautiful touch. It was the crowd were oohing and ahhing at Iggaman's beautiful touch as the ball was running. Iggaman, who is addicted to the nutmegs, is going to have to cut it out. So this is going to be a long pod, folks. It's already been far too long, but I have spent all bloody season giving you European rundowns of the European season so far of the next team we're going to be playing. And, I think it's time for a wee tribute to the Gers to talk about our European season so far. Glory in repose. It's nice just to sit back and be all sniffy and just contemplate, while others have got to battle it out in the fake last 16. We're in the real last 16. And let's just talk about ourselves. And Philip Clement, he might not have won as many domestic competitions as he wants, but he gets us to the final of those as well. This is him getting us to the last 16 stage, 2 seasons in a row in Europe as well. The manager knows what he's doing. He is the man for the job. I did the whole thing where I'm doing my post-match reaction pod, and I'm going, oh, by the way, actually 4 of the teams that we have played in this schedule, in this group stage, this new extended format, are in that top 8 as well. That speaks to how well Rangers have actually done here. Thinking I was coming, and then I watched David Edgar does the quick post match reaction. Once I've got mine all posted and all that, next day I watched David Edgar's post match reaction for Heart and Hand, and he's like, by the way, see 4 of the teams that are in the top 8 are teams that we've already played. We played this season in this skit, and I watched the Rangers review post-match reaction, I think with Joshua Barry, or was it Derek Clark? I can't remember. But something I think we should notice here is that see 4 of the teams that we played in this schedule, 4 of them are above it. They're in that top 8 as well. So that just shows you how well Rangers have done. I'm watching the TNT interview on YouTube. We didn't have time to put in the actual show itself that I'd recorded with Philip Clement. 4 of the clubs that we played in this schedule, they're actually in this top 8 with us. So it just shows you how you think you're being original. You think you've spotted something. We beat Malmo 2-0, Bajrami and Macaws, and we beat them in Malmo in the first game in this group stage. This is after Dynamo Kiev put us out at Hampden in the Champions League qualifier, the third Champions League qualifier. After we drew away, we drew in Poland with them, Dessers scoring the goal over there in the last minute to equalise a vital result, a vital goal at the time. Then we have Leon at Ibrox. Tom Lawrence equalises on the night quite early on, but Leon are 4-1 up after 55 minutes. And I came out of that game totally delighted that it would only get beat 4-1 because I thought it was going to get really embarrassing. And 4-1 is embarrassing enough, but I thought it was going to go epic. I was still recovering. I haven't recovered from the 7-1 by Liverpool. So that was, and then FCSB, we get them back, and it's Big Phil who gets in touch a lot on the pod here. Great posts from Big Phil. Really appreciate anybody who just watches these pods, never mind actually responding to them as well. As he was saying, we got straight back in the bike with a 4-0 win over FCSB. Lawrence again scores early on. He scored the first goal that night. Cerny gets 2. Igaman gets he's starting to arrive on the scene. That game at Ibrox pumped him 4-0, and they were above us going into that final round of games. They were above us, and so all the talk that I know they had a few players out at that point in time, but they were a good team, and we absolutely destroyed them. Olympiacos, we go over to Greece. As I say, I've been saying it all season, so I've been saying it ever since then. It's a ferocious country to go to at the best of times, but this is Olympiacos, who actually are European trophy holders, and the top scorer in last season's Conference League opened the scoring against us in the second half, and then Dessers just goes up the park and equalises, and we could have quite easily won that game. A fantastic, a really mature performance. Our midfield was sensational that night. Battled away, and then we go to Nice, Côte d'Azur. I was all worried about that one, and we turn it around. That's another thing that worked amazingly, and goal difference essentially ends up getting us into that top 8. We cancel out the 4-1 doing by Lyon by going to the home of another Ligue 1 side and beating them 4-1. Igaman, 2 goals, one either side at half time, but we'd already had Cerny and Dio scoring in that game. They got their goal. Nice got their goal 83 minutes. That's when we knew things were getting special. This was a really special campaign, probably a phenomenal, one of the best results ever for Rangers. A sensational performance. Spurs at home, disappointed we didn't win the game. Dessers a good chance at the end. It's a good save by their keeper. I can't remember the guy's name or who he played for before, but we draw 1-1 with Spurs. That's a great night at Ibrox. It was fantastic. We lose at Old Trafford. The second minute injury time, we lose that game. Dessers equaliser, a goal that will stay with me for the rest of my conscious, sentient life, all 3 months of it. And then we have USG the other night, which is a stupid, nuts, silly, bonkers kind of game. Raskin and Cerny with the goals, and just pay that. The extra money we get for this, get through it, just give it to Wolfsburg. Just ask Wolfsburg for account details. Just, send it to them directly. Let's just keep Václav Cerny, because he is absolutely phenomenal. He's been essential to us in this tournament. He's essential to us all season. And it's me turning up late. I think it meant I wasn't doing my usual thing of just getting right into the game, getting so absorbed in it that I could get extra scared. I basically get extra petrified, extra nervous. There was a kind of looseness about my attitude to the game. You struggle, especially you get in there and Rangers are shooting towards the Copeland, and then Leon King, who I didn't realise had actually been injured, not in that tackle. I saw him get involved in the box just before he went off, but it actually been a head clash right in the very first minute of the game. So I hope he's okay. Big Leon, a real shame for him. But you couldn't really get into the game. My concentration's kind of going. I was missing things out from my post-match reaction pod. It was just a general feeling. It was a vibe. And I think the fans are also, because we've got a belief now in Europe, especially at Ibrox, but also because I think there's appreciation there that this manager, I know that some people want to blame him for the injury reasons because he'd said he could diagnose why we had such a long injury list. He said this last season. The implication was it'd been Michael Beale and his team that were responsible for it. And he was going to solve it. We weren't going to have this amount of injuries this season, and we have had. But I think he's also been telling us that we need we need a lot more players. He needs 2 or 3 transfer windows. He's telling us it's a rebuild, and he's working miracles in what is a rebuild season. And he ends up, I think the players he does have, he's having to screw the arse out them basically to the point where they're almost going to combust, the good players, and he's bringing in younger players and players who aren't fully fit and all that. It's just, and he's resting players because they're not fully fit, and that's sending people mental. I think there's also the other night, even though USG opened us up a few times and our defence looked really ropey, and Butland was bad for the goal and has been bad lately, but hopefully they'll get over that. I think it's just a general understanding that we're overperforming. So there wasn't the same pressure either. And then suddenly to get into the top 8, it was certainly, for me anyway, it was a bonus. I know we'd been in the top 8 before, and we'd been up that end of the table for most of this campaign, but I just thought that was us doing the hard work early of making sure that we're going to be in the top half of the middle 16, so it would be seeded in the next round. And it just gets so much better. It was total bonus territory, and it was just a kind of chilled out, relaxed, and just such an enjoy. It's just lovely. It's just been really, really nice after a season of everything being quite dark at times and unnecessarily so. I just hope everybody gets a bit more belief now and a bit more patience with everything that goes on. With the manager, who was finished with us in the top 8. Lazio, Eintracht Frankfurt, Manchester United, Tottenham, Olympiacos, Lyon, and Athletic Club of Bilbao. It's Athletic Club that worry me most in terms of, if you're just looking at, I mean, Rangers can go out next. We're going to get either Fenerbahce, Anderlecht, 20, or Bodo Glimt. I won't do the old joke about that's us get 5 teams we could play against, Bodo or Glimt. You know, it's pathetic. To even mention that, you just need to be desperate to try and make your over-long pod in any way interesting. Fenerbahce, I think we played them. They put us out the 2001-2002 Champions League. It was a playoff round. That was quite tight, but they put us out, and they are. I think they finished. They're second in the Turkish league, just the Super League just now. Excuse me. So I'm hoping they've got their mind on winning the title. Jose Mourinho, the manager, Philip Clement, telling us this time last season, Jose Mourinho's got the Conference League trophy tattooed in his arm, so it must be quite important. Jose Mourinho's having to play around more than Rangers are. Fenerbahce, they squeaked in at 24th and 24th place. They squeaked into the next round. Anderlecht, they're 10th. They're one of the teams that kind of dropped down so we could go above them. And Thursday night with that humping by Heidenheim, well, they nearly pulled off the comeback in Brussels. They finished 10th in the Europa League group. We beat them. We put them at the 1960 European Cup in the preliminary round. The first round we played in the European Cup, 59-60. We beat them. I think they're 4th in the Belgian league just now, so they're not doing too brilliantly, but the Belgian league's a funny thing when it comes to their playoff system. They could end up winning it quite easily. 20, they beat Besiktas. They put out Besiktas, who are the only Turkish team I really want to see again, because they're the only one of the big 3 in Turkey that I haven't seen, the big 3 in Istanbul. But 20 put them out the other night. They put them in the bottom 12 at the table with that victory over them. They are 5th in the Eredivisie, but they finished 23rd in this table, so very doable. But they're a Dutch team. Dutch team's always dangerous. And Bodo Glimt, quite a unique club. A recent thing, they play in the Arctic Circle right up at the top of Norway. It's kind of Jim McLean's Dundee United vibe going on with them. They've won the league like 4 of the last 5 years. They are the champions, but they've just become champions of Norway again. It was November, I think the season ended there. So I don't know. Obviously, they did the business the other night. They got through. They just missed out on, I think they're 10th. They finished they're 9th, just below us. They finished just below us, directly below us in this Europa League group stage. But their domestic season starts. It's a summer season, so to speak. It starts in March. So I don't know. Does that mean they'll be fresher? Does it mean they'll be a bit rustier? It's hard to know. But it's going to be great just sitting back. I'm going to watch 20 again, because I want us to play 20, because that's one of the European finalists I haven't seen before. I need to get them off my list. But I have a funny feeling what I'm trying to say is this whole obsession with European finalists that I've got is really just a transference of my desire to see Rangers. It's like, if I can't see my club winning a European trophy or in a European final again, I spent, this was all through puberty and what have you. It's obviously getting there really deep. I will see every club that has been in a European final and go see all the European finals, and somehow that means it's the same thing. It isn't. But I would love to see 20. And I'm going to have great fun just sitting later on this month watching 20 and Bodo Glimt fighting it out, and then hoping we get them in the draw, which is the 21st of February, the draw that affects us. But yeah, it was fantastic. The teams that finished above us in the top 8, Lazio, Eintracht, Lyon, Athletic Club, they're all kind of hovering round about the last Champions League spot in their domestically, the big 5 domestic leagues. So sometimes they either want to, these teams in this situation, their fans are really only concerned with the Champions League and their own domestic league in general in that country. That's where all the steam is. But the Europa League obviously gives you direct qualification. If you win the Europa League, you qualify directly for the following season's Champions League. So maybe they need to target both. Maybe they really aren't psyched for this. Eintracht having won the thing recently, as we know, the Europa League, maybe not as focused on that as they are on the Bundesliga. I think they're 3rd in the Bundesliga just now. Leon, well, we know how good they are, so it'd be a worry if we got them, but they might again be concentrating on Champions League. Leon have never won a European trophy. They've never reached a European final. They've reached minor European finals, but they've never reached one of the big 3 or 4 as it is now with the Conference League coming in historically. Athletic Club twice lost the UEFA Cup final and then the Europa League as it was. No Basque team has ever won a European trophy. Athletic Club would love to be that team. They would love to be that club. They are hosting the final. They're a magnificent club. They're a magic club. There is a romance about them, and they will certainly Barcelona and Real Madrid have got away from them. Atletico Madrid as well. And they're kind of, they've used the Champions League money and they're getting better investment. They've kind of sped away from Athletic Club, who are a major player historically in Spanish football. Them in Valencia kind of fallen away, but Athletic Club, they must feel that they're destined to win it this season. I don't want to play them. They will be concentrating on this. Man U and Tottenham, again, the Europa League would offer a bit of glory for them and direct qualification for the Champions League, because they're nowhere near qualifying for the Champions League. They're having terrible domestic seasons. But again, with their fans just wanting them to actually concentrate in the domestic situation, get themselves up the league. Tottenham got to the Champions League final in 2019. They've won the UEFA Cup. They've been in the final a couple of times, or 3 times. They've won it twice. The UEFA Cup, 72 and 84. They lost the final in 74 to Feyenoord. Champions League final 2019. Won the Cup Winners' Cup, of course, in 1963. So they're not lacking for European competition. For them, it's all about the title. They haven't been champions of England since 1961. Tottenham, it's a massive thing for them. That is their big focus. They're probably going to end up changing manager shortly anyway, which might disrupt things. Man U doing us a favour the other night, eventually, after what it did to us the previous Thursday. When they won the Europa League in 2017, Mourinho was almost having to explain to people why it was a good thing. They had completed the set for Manchester United of all 3 European trophies, as was then. But no, it was almost like an embarrassment for them to be in that final, because they'd won the Champions League in 2008 most recently, and they'd been in the final in 2009 and 11 as well. It just seems beneath Man U, really unappreciative. So I don't know what their attitude will be towards this. Olympiacos, we know from Olympiacos fans that I saw on the Rangers review, that they are concentrating on the league. They are concentrating on winning the league, but they seem to be concentrating quite healthily on the Europa League as well. But they definitely want to win the Greek league in what is their centenary season, and I think it's a tight race up there. Only 4 points between themselves, AEK Athens and Panathinaikos, the big 3. So I don't know. I Lazio, don't ask them about the guy who usually flies their eagle, the mascot. They've got the eagle. He's had to pack that in for quite good reasons. But I don't know. It depends how the draw goes. It depends how these other teams are feeling, how these other clubs are feeling about it, and we would probably pick up more injuries. Maybe this is our high point of European football this season, and it would more than do for me. I'd be quite happy with this. It's a serious achievement, but when you got the chance and you've got the feeling about you, you should really go for it. This is the longest pod ever. Ross County. It's just the one thing they have is they'll be more rested than us tomorrow, or today. Obviously, it's going to be before this game kicks off. Before I get this pod put up, they'll be way more rested than us. It's a very exhausting night, even for good reasons, the way it turned out on Thursday. Ross County have had a free week, haven't they? I think so. Yeah. They drew last week with Hibs. They equalised late on against Hibs at their own place. They don't win at home, but latterly they can't stop winning away. That's the whole thing with Don Cowie's Ross County. Today, the results on Saturday, with Kilmarnock winning, it means Ross County have dropped to 11th, and even a draw won't do them tomorrow to get them back into 10th. They are second bottom, and St Johnstone having won at St Mirren. St Johnstone won in 2 weeks in the trot now. It means they are within 5 points, I think, of Ross County. So they're dragging them into the automatic relegation spot at the very bottom of the league. Ross County need a win shortly, but that's the whole thing. They've won 6 games all season. They won 3 all at home up until November, and since November, December, January, they've won 3 away games, and they can't win. They've drawn at home with Hearts and Hibs. They get beat 4-1 at home by Celtic a few weeks ago, but that was most of Celtic's goals came in injury time before that really get put to bed. Freakishly long injury time, a whole penalty incident and everything. But we went up there in December, beginning of December, and we beat them 3-0 quite early on. We're 2-0 up at half time. In August, we beat Ross County 6-0 at home, and our home then was Hampden in the league. Matondo got a couple of goals. So did Dessers, Tom Lawrence, Danilo scored on the day. That's in other news. Matondo there's a buy option to buy in his contract with Hanover in the German second tier, who are challenging highest value for, as always. Hamburg always chuck it these days, trying to get promoted back to the Bundesliga. So there's a good chance I think if they go up to the Bundesliga, they've got the option to buy for like £1 million, basically 1.2 million euros. So we might not see Rabbi Matondo again. We got him from Schalke. He's going to Hanover. House of Hanover, very royal, very very related to a royal family, but it's just not worked out at all. A couple of spectacular goals. He's away there in loan. A couple of spectacular goals in his Rangers career, but it's just against PSV, against Celtic into the Copland Road. That day he had against Ross County, maybe he was just playing for a deal. I don't know, but it was sensational. He scored 2 against them, as I say, and also set at least one up. It was a cracking day, and also another testament to the manager. That's a completely different team he had then at his disposal, and he's blown them away 6-0. Did Clermont. Archie Stevens, he's off to Dunfermline on loan for the rest of this season. Not really troubled the first team, so no skin off my nose, but all the best to him. Adam Devine, who's been on loan at Motherwell last season, he's away to Queen's Park in the Championship as well, on loan for the rest of the season. Good luck to him. Hamza Igaman is the Premiership Player of the Month for January, as he should be. And John Gilligan has stood down. He was just in as interim chairman. He stood down. And that's him. He's Fraser Thornton. He got Fraser Thornton in as chairman. We've got Patrick Stewart in as a CEO. He's done his bit. John Gilligan, he can go and enjoy his retirement. Hopefully, he'll certainly get away for Rangers just as a supporter now. Aye. It's Ross County, and there's nothing to fear but fear itself. As they say, they beat the 3 away games that they've won. Dens Park, Rugby Park, Pittodrie. And it's our last 3 away games in the league, and that's 3 places we haven't won this season. They get put out of the Scottish Cup by Livingston after extra time at home a couple of weeks ago. But if anything, that's going to give them more energy, I would say, for fighting relegation, which will be their main battle this season. And Jordan White still playing for them, who always likes to score against Rangers. So there's that to worry about. Also the physicality. Every time we play Ross County at Dingwall, I feel as if we're just going through a forest of big guys, because it's a smaller park and the stands are smaller. It's an optical illusion almost, but the reality is they do have a lot of big guys, big units, and Rangers' defence just out is struggling. USG did better against us the other night when they just lumped balls onto our central defence. Lumped balls on top of our goalie, on top of our centre halves. It's a real problem just now. I hope John Suter... It wouldn't surprise me if John Suter didn't start tomorrow. The manager's just playing him in. Just was so desperate. He had to get him on the other night for half an hour. Maybe he'll want to bring him on for the last half hour tomorrow as well. Maybe Inciala, along with Hadji, of course, is back. European squad. I'm assuming Danilo's still not fit yet. Maybe there's been a declaration on Danilo. I haven't heard it. I've missed it. But I could also imagine Proper being rested as well, and Suter coming in to start. Maybe Balogun, I don't know if he's going to be available. We don't know any injury details just now. There's been no update. We'd be a European game on a Thursday, but I would say Inciala could come back in, maybe play alongside Proper, or John Suter starts. He plays alongside Inciala to give Proper a rest. Basically, I don't know what's happening at centre half. I just hope we've still got options. Yeah, because I'm going to need that physicality against Ross County. Cerny should be ready to rock, because he did not want to come off the other night against USG. He saw him mouthing, I was watching the telly, he's mouthing why to the manager, and then the manager gets a hold of him and cuddles him and tells him why. And I think the manager's going to say to him, I'll get you on straight away on Sunday, you can get yourself a hat-trick, and I hope so. He was exhausted at Old Trafford, Cerny. Quite right, he didn't play against Dundee United, and we didn't need him, but I would like to see him playing tomorrow, because we do not have a game. We don't have to rest something, a game in 4 days' time, or the game in 3 days' time. It's not going to happen, because we don't have a midweek game, and we don't have a midweek game the midweek after that. We don't have a midweek game the midweek after that. It's just fantastic. But it's just when you think you're going to get a rest and everyone's worth it, we can just start chilling out, that sometimes you take your eye off the ball. We have got to get this dealt with, and we will be feeling the after effects of Thursday night, and we need to get Ross County. We have been scoring lots of goals in our home games, as I say, so far since the turn of the year. Let's make sure we can get another 3 goals at least on board tomorrow, and hope that would be enough against Ross County. But they have won the last 3 away games in the league, so they have to be watched. Fan anger that they can't let go. Fans being really angry with their own team. They can't. It's not. I think with Rangers this season, it's not just an inability to see the process, what the process is. It's an inability to understand the concept of process. How it works, how you improve things over time, and especially when that progress and that process is powered by decreasing funds and increasing impediments. It's a miracle. The manager has worked an absolute miracle to get us to this stage in Europe, and with Dundee United and Aberdeen losing again today after we won at Tannadice last week, the notion of us finishing any lower than second is gone. It's all about trying to catch up. We cut the deficit towards Celtic as well, and it's about winning the Scottish Cup. We've got to win the Scottish Cup this season. We really got to go for that. It's make Rangers great again stuff a lot of times. It's kind of Donald Trumpian. Some of the just, if everything isn't perfect straight away, if there's anything bad happens, it's not because there's no extenuating circumstances. It's all just seen in complete isolation. There's no players that are injured. There's no lack of funds. There's no complete changing of the board going on in the background. It's just you lost the game. The players are all crap. The manager's got to go. Hopefully now we realise that this manager is going to be a progress. It doesn't happen. People are kind of getting in touch now and saying we have to remember there's going to be bumps in the road and all that. Like, that's so the greatest Rangers teams of all. There's always bumps in the road. There's any team that wins, every domestic trophy and even a European trophy, a quadruple or a treble in a season, still encounters games where things don't go smoothly. So I think it's a really strange modern phenomenon, this inability to cope with any kind of setback, especially when there's so much going right for the team and when there's so much context to be applied. There's so much mitigation for the manager, and I was really happy for James Tavernier the other night, as well as the manager. It's just everything kind of becomes further. I think if we do well, sometimes as well, it becomes further proof that there is no reason for anything to go wrong. So I'm scared about tomorrow. I'm scared about this game against Ross County in case it's happened so often this season. Oh, you can win, and it's been happening for years now. Or you can get to a European final, but you can't beat Dundee at Dens Park, who lost 6-0 at Dens Park to Hearts today. So maybe there's a problem. Maybe there's a point to that one. But let's just appreciate what we've got here. Really appreciate what this team has achieved, and get right behind the team tomorrow against Ross County to get ourselves a nice week off, and maybe I can then get enough rest and get enough. I'll get out of the habit of just constantly talking about Rangers, and I've got to the point where all my pods go on far too long. Even a pod that's previewing a game that's probably going to kick off 5 minutes after I get the pod itself uploaded, it's going to be like an hour and 3/4. But addiction is definitely a thing. Addiction when it comes to European football for me is definitely a thing, and I think it's always, you always want the next thing, you always want the next hit. You get your little, addicts, heroin addicts, etc. I've got the little tin with their, their needle and their spoon and their wee lighter and stuff like that. My paraphernalia is this little folder here. I'm holding it up to the Alexander. Remember we used to get it? We got that thing for Rangers, our names on the blue velvet gates. Well, I've still got that, and I sellotaped it to this front. This A5 folder that I've had since I was like 12 years old. Lots of pencil written stuff, and I've got this, this bit of paper here, right at the front. I've had this bit of paper right at the front for I don't know how many years, and it's all the European finalists, and I've had to add to that. Year on year, obviously, every time there's been a new European finalist, and you can see I've got them all scored out or highlighted. I do both for some reason. Every time I get to see one of these in the flesh, this has got to end. You always find out with addictions, there's an underlying psychological problem behind it, family issues or something like that. For me, I think if Rangers win a European trophy, if I get to see Rangers, if I'm a sentient adult, as Rangers win a European trophy, I will finally stop all this nonsense, and these podcasts will be 10 minutes long. So please you will now know why you need to join me in praying that Rangers make it this season. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, folks.